So you'd actually have to go into actors and then make an actor of type model, model, whatever. Hold on, it's taking a while. And you would set the model to whatever you want. You know, find some cool little thing you can stick under the unit that looks like a Warcraft 3 aura or something. When you go through this, it's kind of slow. Maybe, what's good? Beacon underscore Terran small. So you do that, and then, but it's not going to show up unless you go to events, right click, add an event. You know, find behavior, strength aura. So when a unit gets the strength aura, when it's on, then we're going to create, and you'd have to do the same thing except off, and then you want to do a destroy here. And so you can actually copy paste, change this to off, and then change this to destroy. So now when the aura actually comes on, this actor is going to be displayed, and when the aura goes away from the unit, it's going to turn off. And this is pretty much a working aura, and I should have probably called this aura tutorial or something, but whoever watched this tutorial this far is going to get a nice nice aura demo. And so anyways, you've done all your data editor stuff, let's say, but now you want to go in game and say you want to, you know, make a Zergling for player 1 10 seconds into the game. So you go to the trigger editor. And the trigger editor, basically, you can have a list of triggers in here, new trigger, blah, 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 blah. And then each trigger has events, conditions, and actions, and local variables, which I don't really need to explain right now. So an event is something that happens within the game. So let's say timer, you know, you can do unit enters region. Timer, time elapsed is, let's say it's 10. So it's 10 seconds into the game. And we don't need any conditions for this. You know, you could do a condition that, press OK on comparison, you know, that player could have player property. Maybe player 1, press value, then 1, OK. Maybe player 1 minerals has to equal 50 and when this event happens, but maybe not, so let's delete it. So 10 seconds into the game, you want to do an action. And what action do we want to do? Click U down to unit. And let's say we want to create, where is it? Create unit facing angle. That's the default create thing. We want to create one, click on unit, create one Zergling for player 1. At point, let's just go function, center of region, center of function, playable map area. Facing's fine, and no options is fine. Actually, let's ignore placement, so if anyone's standing there, he'll still be made. So now we got the Zergling, but say, you know, your camera's, say you're in game as player 1, your camera's way down here, and your Zergling's made in the center over here. Well, you want to make a new action, and you want to actually do this, hold on, camera, you go to camera, and you go pan camera. But you want to actually drag this below because you want this to happen after this unit is made. So you want to pan the camera for player 1 to change, click this bracket, and we want to change it to a unit position of the last created unit. So it'll now pan to the Zergling for player 1 over 2 seconds, whatever, that's all fine. So now they're panned to their unit. But let's say we want to do this for every player. Let's say we have map player properties. Let's say we have 3 players. So there's a time-consuming way to do this, which is to do this for player 1, copy paste, do this for player 2, copy paste, do this for player 3. And then there's a lot easier way, which is using this interesting function, this interesting action called player group, pick each player in player group. So we want to pick each player and then change all players to active players. So any players that are in the game right now that are active, I guess. And drag these little actions underneath the actions for player group, pick each player. And we want to unit create one Zergling for player. And instead of player 1, we change this to function, player group, picked player. So this is going to run for player 1, for player 2, and for player 3 if they're all in the game. And so if they are in the game, they're going to create one Zergling for player 1 in the first time, player 2 in the second time, and player 3 on the third time. Center of playable map area, that's fine. They're all going to get a unit in the same place. And then we want to pan the camera for, instead of player 1, we want to do picked player to position of last created unit. So now each player 1, 2, and 3 are all going to get a Zergling spawn for them, and they're all going to get a camera moved. And you could, for instance, I just copy pasted, you could, for instance, player, you could set the modify player property. So you could modify player, player group, picked player. You can modify the player minerals. You could set it to 50, or you could add something. So maybe at the start of the game they all get, or at 10 seconds into the game, they all get 50 minerals. And you want to obviously delete this thing. This is the thing for if you had a melee game going, and we want to delete this because this is going to mess up our little custom map. So delete it. So you make a bunch of triggers. Actions in here, order matters. You know, the fact that I went to pan the camera to position of last created unit depends on the fact that this unit was made right before this action happened. And you do this for each player. You know, you can change the event. Unit enters region. So maybe when the unit enters and click leftmost bracket, and you'll see we have no regions. So if you go in here, one layer I didn't mention was actually the regions layer. And you can make a circle or a square. So let's say, there I just dragged a box. Double click to rename, actually not double click, right click to rename. Let's say reg1. That's a bad name, but so now we have this region you can see here. And go back to triggers. So a unit enters, and then click the leftmost bracket. And unit enters here, is our reg1 is here now. So whenever any unit enters here, we're going to pick each player and all players and make a zergling at the center of the map, which is a very weird action to do, but I'm just trying to demo this out. And you could add a condition. I just press Control W on conditions. Comparison is okay. And maybe only if the owner of the triggering unit, which is the entering unit, is equal to player 5. Maybe only if player 5's unit enters this region, we're going to do these actions. So that's the kind of brilliance of the editors. You can have an event, check some conditions, and then do some actions based on that. And there's really a lot of, I just press Control W again, there's really a lot of actions in here. You know, you can do a if then else, and you can set another condition. Maybe if player 2's mineral is over 50, you can do something like this. You know, there's a lot of cool things you can do. And maybe you need another trigger for when game time is 50 seconds in, you want to make some more zerglings or something. So now you want to reference your game attribute that we made earlier, the easy and medium thing. So in here what you would actually do is new action, general if then else, and this is on event of the map initialization. Control W for a new condition. I'm doing a comparison. So if, and here we want to find game, attribute game value, that's what we want. And the attribute we want is difficulty of map. I believe the one that I showed earlier was called difficulty, but I just changed the name to be more clear so it doesn't confuse with the other difficulty. So difficulty of map, whatever attribute you made, game value equals to, let's find it, difficulty of map, easy. So say it was set to easy, then you can do whatever actions you want and Control paste. And say difficulty of the map was set to medium, then you could do whatever other actions, set player health harder or set the enemy health harder. So that's basically how you would reference what the lobby host would have set and to make variations of your game. And that's about it for this. So that's how you basically do it. You have all your triggers, you've changed all your data. There's some other layers in here like cameras, pathing. You know, you can paint no pathing area so no unit can walk there. And of course, and you can remove pathing. Let's get rid of that. And of course, under terrain, there's water. Make sure you click that. You can paint some water, but you see it's kind of high. It's above the ground. So let's make a little hole for it. And click that. Let's make a hole for the water here. Just painting around here. And so the water's still high. So let's go back to water. Click on Bell Shear and click Edit Water. And set the height to 7.5. Press OK. So now we can see it should be lower. You can see it's actually around there. So we need to actually modify our little beach here, I guess. So I'm just painting some height around to make it look more natural and to hide the square edge. There we go. That's kind of nice. And you can go to Smooth tool and smooth it out a bit. That's kind of cool.